Hey Stargazers, Alissandra Coffey reporting to you on this wonderful, beautiful last day of April in my own little backyard in the place where I live in, so I'm still within safe distance to report to you for today. For those of you who celebrate May Day, or for those of you who are pagan and are celebrating Beltane, happy Beltane to you for tomorrow. And also for those of you just for May Day, happy May Day to you as well too. For today, I thought it'd be appropriate, since we're dealing with retroshade and retrograde, to not only deal, sorry about the camera there, not only deal and explain what these terms mean, but what it means when it comes down to what to look out for between now and June 25th. I know it seems like a long time, but that long time definitely can be shortened with a couple of few tips that I also have in mind of how to survive Venus retroshade and also Venus retrograde. First and foremost, I really like explaining Venus retrograde and retroshade because in my natal chart, I had Venus retrograde outside of Virgo, and I have since wondered at the time of birth how people were getting along at that time. But of course, that's another issue for another time. So, Venus retroshade and Venus retrograde. What is it exactly? Because I know a lot of astrologers are throwing those terms around these days. So I'm going to demonstrate to you with my trusty little rock, my hematoid quartz here. This hematoid quartz, by the way, is brought to you by Herbs and Arts, where they have wonderful precious stones that are sold in the rough like this. Anyway, since I thought it was nice and red and rosy, I thought it'd be really great to portray Venus here. But basically what retroshade means is, so forgive me if I'm covering my face here, but basically it's where Venus goes from moving kind of just in normal direct contact here, like say she's on Rodeo Drive and she's just kind of moving along, making a nice pleasant conversation with people and just kind of moving along and being pleasant. It's when she suddenly decides to just stay still on that Rodeo Drive avenue. And just for whatever reason, she's just remaining still, she's remaining stationary. That is considered to be retroshade. Now, retroshade, what that means is that we're basically getting a preview of what Venus retrograde entails. So Venus went retroshade as of the 9th of this month, so the 9th of April, which is I'm sure that's kind of giving you guys a little bit of dread and doom and gloom, but not to worry. I'll just kind of touch base as to what you guys may have noticed, and then, of course, obviously tell you about not only retrograde, but what to do. So with retroshade, you guys might have noticed that people are being a little more combative than usual, right? I know I have. When I've been able to go out for walks, since we're allowed to do that in Denver, Colorado, as long as we're keeping 6 feet and wearing masks, with wearing a mask and going out for walks, it seems like there are people who are kind of standing on corners, street corners, just picking a fight. It seems like people in stores are also doing the same thing. So it's like, oh dear. So I'm sure that you guys have noticed some similar situations, maybe also with coworkers when working from home. They might be a little more barbed with their statements than usual, or they might be a little more persnickety than usual. This is a very common, I'm just going to say, this is a very common trait that is very prevalent. You might notice that social interaction, aside from social interactions, relationships-wise, that you're seeing a lot of couples fighting or bickering or coming into some sort of disagreement in some way, shape, or form. Another common situation with retroshade, Venus retroshade. You might be seeing that financial issues are very slow and starting to move at a snail's pace. Unemployment, anybody, for those of you who are unessential services. And may I also just say, those of you who have filed taxes and the slowest pace with the IRS. This is also very common, with Venus retroshade. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, It's probably going to be very common with Venus retrograde. It's probably just going to get a little bit worse with Venus retrograde. But again, take a deep, calm breath. It'll be okay. I promise. I promise you. The other things that you might have noticed is that if you're doing home renovations at this time, that contractors are harder and harder to get a hold of. Or that if you're doing a DIY project in your home, that you're kind of coming up to a lot of snags and you're making more trips to Home Depot or Lowe's than usual. And that's also very common. And then, of course, the last thing is either you're visited by a boyfriend from the spirits of exes past, as well as you may be dealing with some insecurities, especially Pam Gregory phrased it so well with Venus retrograde. You know, you'd love to look your best, but we're in a time where we're supposed to wear either cloth or actual masks, so it's very hard to look your best when half your face is covered. So you might be dealing with that, or you might be dealing with, hey, what if I changed this by getting a piercing? Or what if I went for a tattoo? Or you might be coming up with some really wild ideas that you normally don't come up with when it comes to beauty and or cosmetics. So guys, good news is this is very common. As I mentioned, it could intensify a little bit when it comes to Venus retrograde. So what Venus retrograde is, the difference from retroshade, so where she's staying stationary like so, and we're just getting a preview, retroshade is going to enhance those issues that we were talking about, but retrograde means she's going to start moving backwards. So she's going to start, practicing her Argentinian tango moves and start moving backwards. And that's where some of these issues that I just mentioned earlier may intensify. But again, not to worry, not to panic. There are some common solutions. So first and foremost, when it comes to persnickety attitudes, whether it's coworkers, whether it's people you're passing by, this seems to be a particular time where, as with The Good Wife, Michael J. Fox's character mentions, it's like, are you the type of person when you bump into somebody where you say, I'm sorry, or do you say, watch it? It seems like this is a time where a lot of people, you bump into them, or you have an accident, or something of that nature, people are saying, watch it, as opposed to, oh my God, I'm sorry, are you okay? So with that said, what I would just say to you with unpleasant social interactions, just don't engage, whatever it is. You just don't know what the other person is going through and what they're dealing with. You don't know what they're capable of. And above all, there also could be I say all conflicts have a two-way street. You might be feeling a little more combative yourself as well, so you might be equally guilty. I just find silence is golden. So like say you're going out for a walk, you're able to exercise with a cloth mask and, keeping 6 feet of distance. Or if you're just at the store and you're just trying to pick up some essential goodies and somebody's being nasty to you. Best policy, and I know it's like the hardest policy of all, but just not responding to that person and just thinking, you know what, it's Venus retrograde, Venus retroshade, it's what it is. That person's probably going through some sticky issues of what else is going on, not involving yourself. And sometimes too, with that silence is golden, that emphasizes how badly that person is acting, and it also points out their behavior far more than if you should engage. And that causes that person to not only fix that behavior, but not to repeat it again. It also helps you to not engage in something that you're going to regret later on, further down the road. The second thing that I had mentioned was obviously loving reactions. So whether you're in a relationship at this time or whether you're single, this is kind of a time where it's either, gee, man, I'd love to be in a relationship, but no one seems to be liking me. Or, gee, I'd love this relationship to work out, but there's just a lot of thorns that are getting in the way. So if you are in a couple, what I would recommend is if you can see either a marriage counselor or a therapist at this time, just to have somebody who's an intermediary, somebody who has a neutral standpoint on everything. I do recommend that this would be a great time to not only uncover those issues that have been swept under the rug, but to do it in a very professional and very neutral and safe environment. And obviously an environment where it's not going to get overblown and so heated to where those thorns turn into massive arguments at the end of the day. I also think too, retrograde motions usually represent times where we can look from within. So if you're in a relationship right now, maybe kind of looking in towards, what do I want from my partner? And how can I, constructively express this to my partner right now of what I really do want going forward? And having your partner do the same thing, like kind of really reflect and really think, hey, what does he or she want? And how can we implement this moving forward as well? I also think that as a couple, each individual could do a T-chart on the other of likes and dislikes. I'll go into detail about this a little bit, just a little bit with singles, but it does help to gain some perspective as to, again, those likes and those, or not just those likes and dislikes, but what I want from this relationship, and being able to constructively bring that to the table as well, too. And above all, don't meet like with like, just kind of like with the social interactions. If you are having barbs, first off, I'm very sorry that you're going through that. That's not so much, that's not fun, but again, meeting a nasty remark with another nasty remark is not going to help you grow. I always just say, try going from within and try seeing if you can grow from this relationship. I also hate to break it to you, but if you're in a relationship that seems to be having more thorns than smooth travels, do keep this in mind. Venus retrograde is a good time to just let that relationship go. No strings attached. It's just, hey, look, this isn't working. This isn't how we wanted it to be. This isn't how it is, an ideal. Again, have a constructive situation with your partner on this one. And if it's time to part and move those separate ways, and if you feel like you guys can do that without it being messy, this is the best time to do that as well, too. It's just something to kind of keep in your arsenal, not the only go-to. But it's just something to kind of keep in mind if everything else that I'm kind of mentioning, or if you're trying other things, are not working as well. If you are single, I bet you're like me, where you would like to find a partner or you'd like to be out on the scene. Well, unfortunately, this is not a good time, knowing how people are feeling a little more combative than usual. It's not a good time in the regard that people are also feeling a little more impulsive than usual. People are feeling in the same way as you are. Sometimes combative and impulsive do not make a wonderful partnership. So what I usually recommend at this time for singles is, this is a good time to reflect on what you would really like out of a relationship. And so I was starting to come up to this list earlier with singles, or not singles, with couples. But I thought I'd like to just kind of point it out as to what I've been doing. And I've been going to town with this one. So I'll just put it up for everyone to kind of see. So I've been just T-charting not only past relationships of, likes, like what I liked about that relationship and why I was attracted to a certain individual in the first place, but also what didn't work. And it really helps me to objectively see, I've been focused on looks all this time, but I was failing to see how this person was really selfish, and how I was the one giving more in this relationship while the partner gave nothing at all. And I want to avoid that situation. So it's a good way to not only assess like what precisely went wrong, but also how you might be able to fix that. For me, I think it would be to focus more than just on looks. Maybe to see if I actually like this person. This person obviously likes me, but let's see if on that first date, if I actually like this person. And if not, then cut ways. If so, keep going and see what else, see which qualities and particular qualities and meaningful qualities are inherent that you like as well. I've been going to town and doing this also with crushes too, like with actors that I like or actors that I have a crush on. Do I like this actor just because he's a pretty face? Or do I like this actor because of his work and his body of work? Do I like this actress or this other, this actress for the same reasons as well too? So it's always a kind of a good eye-opening exercise as well too. I find that this is great for singles to do because that way you get to reflect deeply on you and not only what you want out of a partner, but what you want out of a relationship, and then furthermore how to manifest that. Speaking with manifesting, like how to act on that, so that when Venus does go direct, which she will on the 25th of June, you know exactly where to go, what to look for when you do want to decide to look for a partner. I say the same thing for single or for those who are in a relationship currently. This could be very helpful in bringing to the table what you want, where you want to go. You're noticing these thorns. Where do you want to go from these thorns? Where do you want to go from here? And having that conversation thereof. That conversation could either make you very close or, again, as I've said, if it's kind of heightening those thorns, don't be afraid to say, look, maybe this relationship is not working. But hopefully you don't come to that. Hopefully no one comes to that standstill either. With the financial matters coming to a standstill and coming to a snail's pace. Oh my God, guys, I'm feeling your frustration. I've been feeling your frustration since the 9th, particularly with unemployment. I was one of those individuals who's an unnecessary service. So the barbershop I work for is now closed. I was able to iron these things out, but it took, oh goodness, it took like 2 weeks when really it could have taken like a day. But what I just say about those financial situations, first off, do not go into new financial endeavors, which I don't think is a problem in this day and age. Stocks are really low. Financial investments are not looking too great at this point. But what I would just say to you is anything that is prompting you to wait, just continue to stay with it, continue to be patient. I'd say also too, if it's a situation like unemployment or the IRS where you're still waiting for a refund or you're still waiting to be compensated, persistence is key as well too. If someone's not answering the phones, find out if there are other channels that you can go through to see if you can get some resolutions resolved as well. The other thing that I say with financial situations is things may come to a slow pace and a slow crawl right now, but when they do come to you, there will be nice momentous gains. So again, the slow quarters as opposed to fast dollars type of theory. So there is a reason why this is happening aside from just, Venus is being temperamental. I think Venus is also kind of presenting you to, like, what rewards can you gain from waiting, if you can wait? Or what rewards can you gain from a snail's pace as opposed to a day's worth of work? And I know it's frustrating, but as I've said, keep that patience up, keep that perseverance up. That's always very key there. With home renovations, and also with cosmetic renovations as well too. I know I've had that sudden inspiration of maybe I should just go for a cool brunette, and completely color treat my hair in a different way. And I'm using this time personally as a barber to think on that decision and really research about cool brunettes and how that's going to make my skin appear, and how that's also, if that's a really good decision, or how people read brunettes as well too. Believe it or not, people read into hair color and they react a certain way. I've also had that sudden inspiration to go blonde too, and trust me, I'm not acting on that anytime soon, because again there's the response to that. But what I always say with cosmetic work especially If you're inspired to get that tattoo, or you're inspired to get that nose piercing, or that lip piercing, or that trying that wild hair color, I would say wait till Venus moves back into direct, and use this time to maybe again research into piercings, research into that wild hair color, research into why you want to try these things. Is it you feel insecure about something else that could be going on that could be an easy fix? Or is it just a situation where you're just having that harebrained idea that's being prompted from the heavens? Because that does happen as well too during retrograde. If it is something that's related to an insecurity, this is another great way to dive in and see what is it exactly that's making me feel insecure. Maybe it has nothing to do with the face, or maybe it has nothing to do with my hair. Maybe it just has something to do with something else that's going on that might be a little turbulent in my life. And this is also, yet again, a great time to reflect on that and maybe iron out those issues simply. Maybe it could just be a situation that you could change with your wardrobe, or it could be a situation that you could change with a simple fix of a mindset at this time. These are things to look into as well. Home renovations, same thing. This is a good time to start researching those contractors. Do not reach out to contractors just yet. I think mostly when it comes down to Venus retrograde, contractors usually either don't respond back, creating more frustration, or they ransack your home and leave a big gaping hole, and then they don't contact you back, or then they're MIA and you're left with a situation like Tom Hanks and Shirley Long in The Money Pit. Not a fun situation all the way around. So research those contractors, whether it's going on to Angie's List at this time and seeing their reputability and seeing if they do what work they do and the quality thereof, if you're able to see like a portfolio, and start looking into those things. And just like I said, just researching. The same thing as with your home too, if you're starting with any sort of DIY or renovating projects. Maybe thinking about, okay, do I want this color paint in the bathroom as opposed to that color paint? Or do I want granite countertops, or do I want marble countertops? These are things to decide now as opposed to when everything is demolished. And it will save a lot of headache and a lot of frustration down the line, especially if you're doing a DIY renovation. There might be a lot of little things that you don't really know as of yet, and a lot of little snags that you don't know as of yet that could be researched again, and how to go about those snags so you're not making repeated trips to Home Depot or repeated trips to Lowe's. Or, like I said earlier, making repeated attempts to trying to contact a contractor. So definitely this is a good time for self-reflection and research is what I usually recommend in this situation. Now, if you are like me, where you're getting this really weird and kind of creepy situation of being visited by ex-lovers past, the ghost of ex-lovers past. Oh my goodness! To phrase Dickens here, or try to phrase Dickens here. Oops, sorry about that. So what I recommend is, this is going to be on your part and your druthers. Personally, being my moon being in Libra, I like to see and give people chances, and I like to see where people are and kind of keep in touch on a friendly level. Sometimes that comes to my pitfall in the regard that these individuals, especially coming from my past, like to take advantage of that. What I always just say is, with any retrograde visiting from the past, so whether it's a colleague that's revisiting you, or in this case an ex-lover that's revisiting you, I say take this time to revisit why you broke up with this person in the first place. In the case of this ex revisited, it's because he didn't listen. Simple as that. So again, it's reestablishing boundaries in the sand. So it could be that with you, or it could be you might want to say that final goodbye that you didn't get to do so in the past. Or it could be that it was just an awkward situation and you're just repatching the awkwardness. Either way, whatever the situation is, you should, after encountering the ex, you should feel clear and ready to move forward. So try to close that door if there's a door open and just move forward and move forward positively and look forward to new, beautiful new lovers, beautiful new people in your life, and beautiful new circumstances that will bring with that beautiful new lover or that beautiful new person in your life as well. Above all, the good news about Venus retrograde is that by the time that we see Venus moving direct again, which again will be the 25th of June, you will have plenty of time to reflect on things, and that you'll be able to move forward, hopefully in a more peaceful and from a more whole standpoint from within yourself. So if you did like this video, stargazers, please do give me a thumbs up down at the bottom. Thumbs up, yay! Even better, you can also subscribe as well too. I would really appreciate that. And above all, if you guys have some recommendations for what you would like to see in future casts and future videos, please leave that in the comments section. And also, I just love to hear you guys and your comments as well, and seeing how this can enlighten your day or how it doesn't enlighten your day. It's all very good and all very well in the comments section. So feel free to leave me a comment. Your comments make my day, actually. I have to be honest with you. And above all, stargazers, feel free to look up in the sky. Don't be afraid to look up in the sky. If nothing else, it gives you a nice little pause, especially when it comes to this intense time with the pandemic, especially, and also what we're facing through. Just whether you're looking at regular stars, I can tell you that speaking of Venus, she's in the western sky. She's been in the western sky these last couple of nights and looking gorgeous. And despite the fact that she's going through retroshade and retrograde situations, she's looking gorgeous as usual. I mean, like, as she always does. The crescent moon also being in the western sky is looking very gorgeous as well. So if you have a window that faces that direction, please feel free to look at that. Or just simply if you can go outside and take a look at the western sky, those are two great celestial bodies to look at. And above all, stargazers, be well, and until next time.